Everybody, welcome back to the PC Perspective Podcast. This is episode 617, being recorded on February 25, 2021. I'm Sebastian Peak.
I'm Jeremy Hellstrom.
I'm Josh Walrath.
I'm Brett Van Sproonberg.
So if you want to know when we go live for exciting, breathtaking events like this podcast recording session, you can go to pcper.com/subscribe to join our mailing list. And what could be more exciting than that? Breathtaking even, as I said before. You can also go to patreon.com/pcper and help support this. Words fail me. What the magic, what we're doing, everything that you're watching and listening to right now. It's just.
I described it as falling off of a log into a river. I mean, it's that sudden, like, oh my gosh, experience. I can't believe I'm going through this. That's what this moment is like.
Yeah.
It's like, I didn't expect it. And suddenly, injury.
I didn't expect it, and then I spent the rest of my life trying to forget it. And
right.
Speaking of unforgettable moments, do we have any new names to announce?
Hey, you know what? We do. And despite the levity of which we might talk about it, vastly appreciate the support and throwing some dollars into the bucket. Really, really appreciate it. Thanks go out to newest patron, David Hanslick. I think that's how you pronounce his name. It's got a Z in it. So thanks, David. Appreciate it. And if anybody changes their name or joins during the podcast, if I get the email and if I catch it, I'll read what you changed it to. If it's not, too bad. Maybe if it is, I might read it out loud.
We still don't know what the threshold is yet, so keep trying.
You know,
it's
it changes.
One of those things. It's like, I'll know it when I see it, but I can't necessarily define it.
It's kind of what I've been saying, trying to find that fine line of try it, we'll see what happens.
This is the time of our show where we move to Laramie, Wyoming.
Oh, is it that time again?
Roving reporter Josh Walrath, who covers the local restaurant scene.
A meat connoisseur, but in a good way.
Mm.
This is a prep time. Okay.
Yeah. This is getting...
So anyway, this one is, I think we've probably seen this one before, but this is the Naughty. I'd ordered, I thought, the Naughty before, a couple of weeks ago, but then it came out and it wasn't anything like it. But anyway, this wasn't a great picture, and I couldn't really remove the bun just because it was squished down pretty hard. But 2 beef patties, American cheese, spicy chipotle barbecue sauce, multiple strips of bacon, and fresh cut jalapenos. That's the Naughty. And it's good. It fills you up. And yeah. And the fries were good. They were plenty crispy this time. What are you doing, Kat?
Not as limp as last week.
The GeForce RTX 3060 launched today officially. It was available for several minutes. And it's the new graphics card from NVIDIA that it's for gamers. I talked about that. I call it the anti-mining card for gamers who probably still can't buy it. And I know that's cynical, but the coverage of all this stuff is kind of cynical these days because we're living through year number 2 of not being able to buy anything. And NVIDIA tried to address the mining problem. I brought that up. We'll talk about this a little bit separately, but there was an intentional move to reduce the most popular crypto. What is the term for this? Would it be hash?
Hash rate. The hash rate.
Okay. So if it detects that kind of activity, it takes it down to 50%. I didn't test that. I'm just going to take everybody else's word for it. It literally does detect it, and within minutes, I guess, it drops it down to 50%. So it makes it significantly less profitable. And so in theory, only gamers would want to buy this card. Now, if we actually look at the specs, just compare it to the Ti next to it, the 3060 Ti, which launched first. This is a new GPU. This is GA106. It's only got 28 SMs. There were 38 in the 3060 Ti. This one has 28. That means a reduction from 4864 down to 3584 CUDA cores, Fewer tensor and RT cores, of course. Slightly lower base clock, slightly higher boost clock. Up to approximately 1.8 gigahertz. And then the big deal, anyway, is the memory. It's 12 gigabytes of memory. It's 12 gigs of GDDR6, 15 gigabit GDDR6, up from 8 gigs of 14 gigabit on the TI. But then it's only 192-bit memory bus instead of 256. So lower memory bandwidth. It would have only been 336, but because they upped the memory data rate, it's faster RAM. So now it's 360 gigabytes per second of bandwidth. But it's going to have lower performance. It's going to have lower raster performance. It's going to have lower ray tracing performance than the 3060 Ti. But it's the cheaper card. This one, okay, this is the problem though. I'm guessing I'll have to ask our Newegg raffle representative here, but the Newegg shuffle for a 3060, would that be for a 3060 at 329? Is there even a 329 SKU on there?
Funny you mentioned that.
Yes.
The shuffle came up and they had all the 3060s in there, and I chose the 3 of them at 329, and I was actually chosen for the EVGA one. Well, so I've got 2 out of 4 raffles. I actually shuffles, not raffles.
Well, I mean, it's like a raffle, kind of.
Yeah, it is, but I have 2 friends that have have a need for graphics cards, and so I entered that kind of for them, and so one of them also entered, and neither of them got it. So yeah, they're getting a 3060.
I'm sure you're just going to take a very minor look. You're not a scalper, Josh. You are an agent.
I'm not. I'm selling it for shipping,
percentage.
Tax, and the base card because, well, it's my friend, and they'll give me some alcohol. So
there you
it's
go.
a win-win.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a value added pass through. That's all.
Yeah. So I was able to get a release date 3060. That's
Insane.
bizarre.
This very card, in fact, if you got it at 329, if it's EVGA.
The funny thing
It
is, I
is.
happen to notice that almost all of the reviewers had the EVGA card.
Well, that's because this is the one that NVIDIA was providing. They worked with EVGA to provide this card, so a lot of the US reviewers, I think, got the same XC black card.
That is true. And just to clear this up, just because, and it's been repeated ad nauseum, they didn't add extra memory. They had to either be 6 or 12, just due to the way the memory bus worked. So they didn't, make a miner's edition and then sort of back out of it by gimping it.
Was there a rumor about that?
Oh, of course.
There are mining cards,
yeah.
but those are actually based on Turing and not Ampere, right?
Yeah.
So
The new FEs.
If you look at some of the places, they actually list this card as it's the 12 gigabyte version. And what is this a silent wink, wink, nudge, nudge to people?
I would not be shocked if they came out with a 6 gigabyte budget version or if that hit OEMs
They might.
at some point.
Yeah.
OEMs are good PC.
The other reason might be is we don't know, and neither does NVIDIA, well, as far as we know. We don't know what AMD is going to be coming out with soon. And they've been equipping their cards with more RAM. Not that it's very useful, but they've been equipping their cards with more RAM. So maybe they see, lower in the graphics card food chain that AMD is going to be having a card with, more RAM.
Hey, if AMD doesn't come out and say, hey, we're also going to reduce our mining performance, then they're going to be the card to get for mining. We'll lose people quickly if we talk too much about mining.
Okay, that's going to come up later.
Look at the card. So here's the.
But you know what? The Vega 56 is for $600 on eBay. Easy.
All graphics cards are expensive right now.
It's true. No, he's right though. It's actually especially egregious, smack in the face with a wet glove.
You don't even want to know what Radeon 7 sell for. It's obscene.
Oh, yeah.
So anyway, this is a very small card. The first thing I noticed when I picked up this card is that this is about as tiny as that smallest of the 2070s from a couple of years ago. That maybe it's within like a quarter of an inch. I think this card is under 8 inches long. I think you get the actual.
And I can see through the fan, so the PCB is even smaller.
PCB is a little bit smaller.
Or do they have a hole in the PCB?
I have it right here. We could examine it together. But
well,
yes, let's
click on that. Click on that photo. The second
phone?
one.
There's a picture of the back of it.
The back, just sitting
The
right in
back?
front
What,
of you.
the back, the photo of the back.
For the love of...
Oh my
Okay,
God.
it does have holes in there. You're killing me.
And a bit of overhang.
I know. This is like hitting your head on the way down.
Okay, so here's the graphics card. It's very small, and here's the back of the graphics card.
It's
So you
also
can
very
see,
small.
Where are the holes? The holes are right
Smaller.
here.
It's interesting power circuitry that goes
Josh,
up
it's
there.
actually smaller on the back than it is on the front, Josh.
Look, they got rid of the red trim, I think, across the
Yeah,
board.
you don't have the Batman, the Batmobile.
Yeah,
look.
It's because we made fun of them.
There's like a
That's the
space
reason.
for it, though. There's like a cavity there where it would have been. And as you can see, it's just a
Optional add-in.
traditional 2-slot
It's-
width card. Why will this
true.
not focus? Come on.
There you go.
Single 8-pin
Is
power connector.
it RGB? Any RGB
No,
elements?
this is totally blackout.
Nice.
Oh, and fancy honeycombs on the back.
Yes, and you know what? I have to say, just a little footnote. This is the only graphics card I've ever received that had protective plastic on this rear bracket as well as the shroud.
You had to do a peel on the back bracket?
You had to do a peel on the back bracket.
Yeah.
Not kidding.
That is special.
That'd suck if you forgot to take it off.
Look at the GPU-Z screenshot here. This is as bone stock as it gets. The base and boost match NVIDIA specs. This is a stock card. So that is going to... This is absolute baseline performance, is what I'm saying here. Because a lot of these cards are going to be factory overclocked to be a little bit faster than this. So throwing it onto our Ryzen 9 3900X base test platform, the worst case scenario for it that I tested was Metro Exodus, where it does not beat a 2060 Super. It's within about 2.5 frames of it, down near the bottom of the massive, ever-growing chart here, which would have been even bigger if I'd left the 2090 on, or 3090, which I was like, no, there's no point.
How does it
That
compare
seems
against the
insulting.
1070 though? You didn't answer me that.
I did not. I did not. I did not want to go all the way back and do that again. But
Well, anyway, a 2060 is faster than 1070. So
Yep.
right, and then in most cases, it's just a little bit faster than our 2060 Super Founders Edition card, which I have tested to be within a rounding error of a 2070 non-Super. It's the same thing. So basically, this 3060 bone stock edition is going to be either as fast or perhaps just a bit faster than a 2070. Here's the best showing for it, 5 frames a second faster than the 2060 Super / 2070 in the Division 2 at 1440 high. But it's like a 2070, but it's a 3060. And it has better ray tracing performance. Now, I only did one quick test here, but Bright Memory Infinite, I've mentioned recently, it's very tough. I'd only planned on doing a test with the higher end cards, so I'd done like 2080, 2080 Ti, 3070, 3080, and 3090, not on this chart. But here, I went ahead and grabbed the 2060 and this 3060 to show you like gen over gen ray tracing, and that's a big jump. It goes from about 22 frames per second to about 31. We're just into what looks playable. 30 frames per second in this fully ray traced test is actually, it looks pretty smooth on a 60 hertz display, but it's still not very high. That's a big jump, and it's within about 4 frames per second of a 2080. So that's a 41% increase, 2060 to 3060 in RTX. So at the same price. And that card launched, a couple years ago at CES. So to go, 40% better performance in 2 years, that's kind of what you expect, which is basically the story of this whole review. You'd expect the XX60 card of the current generation to be the same speed as the XX70 card of the previous generation. Like, 2060 was as fast as 1070, 3060 is as fast as 2070. So that's the exciting conclusion.
It's kind of a bummer because it's great to see a lower price card that you still can't really get, but it's still lower priced. However, if you look up the stack at the $500 level, the $750, well, now it's like $830 level, but it was doubling the performance of the previous cards of those generations. So a 3080 was smashing a 2080 that was similar in price, a 2080 Ti. Was there? Yeah, no, yeah. 2080 Ti is much, much more expensive, obviously. But yeah, it just was blown away by the 3080. The 3070 was still fast. 3060 Ti. Now you're getting down there. Now it's a 3060 is competing with the 2060 Super. It's disappointing that we don't see a larger jump where most people would be able to afford it. Am I off base here? Wouldn't you think? But I mean, what's kind of the value? I mean, RTX.
Yeah, the dollar
sure.
multiplier
There isn't
there.
Yeah, not at all. And so you got a 1080 Ti. You don't have a whole lot of money. Why would you upgrade? You've got a 4-year-old card, and it's still competing at the $330 level.
Yeah, for
that's a hell of an investment.
You're pretty close to almost the same.
Yeah.
Ti is faster if you're just doing raster-based stuff.
Yeah.
Oh,
Where's 1080 Ti?
Where did your charts? Where did your charts put that? You tested it.
Charts?
Did you? Charts. I'm just gonna have another quick drink of my beverage.
All right, let me see here. Do I have the 1080 Ti on here? Yeah, I do. If you look at, let's just look at Far Cry. It's the last one on the list here. Far Cry Ultra HD textures 4K. 1080 Ti manages 54.5 frames per second, which is a little bit faster than a 5700 XT. And then behind that is the 3060.
And the 3060 would occasionally best the 5700 XT and get close to the 1080 Ti on raster stuff.
It depends on the game, but yeah.
Yeah.
So there's different examples I could bring up again, but yeah, it's not beating.
There's no viable
1080 Ti.
upgrade path that brings you here.
Unless, of course, you're building a new computer and
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it's depressing that this is dead on mid-range card, performance-wise, at $330.
yeah, well, back in the day, like 98 through 2000, the top end video card was typically $190. And then they started jacking that up. But, it was a very different time, obviously. And, most of those didn't even have cooling. Cheapest chips.
There was also a time wherein you could purchase said cards as well, which was a plus.
Yes.
Weird.
Yeah, that was a nice time.
And the secondary market went down. The price was lower.
You could never sell it for as much as it was.
Or higher.
Or more.
Or 3 times
That would be
higher.
like...
Yeah.
Speaking of resale value,
Stupidest thing
let's
ever.
quickly get this out of the way because we alluded to this in the review. The story after last week's show, of course, after we'd finished recording it, was that NVIDIA was going to intentionally reduce mining performance with this new GPU. And they were also announcing their new CMP, which is crypto mining processor, HX series cards. And those are under a different process. They didn't specifically mention that, I don't think, but it's been leaked and rumored that those are actually Turing. So they will not interfere with production of these Samsung 8 nanometer cards because they're going to be on TSMC 12 nanometer. Presumably. Unless they've done like a die shrink or something. But that it was pretty short to the point. I quoted the whole press release about them deciding to do this. And this would kind of force people to either look elsewhere for a mining card and leave these to the gamers, or, also it helps promote their new mining cards. So it's good for NVIDIA and presumably good for gamers, but then of course it depends. It sounds like maybe the 3060 is going to be a little bit easier to buy than it would have been otherwise. Because think about it, if this hadn't happened, this would have been a 12 gigabyte card with faster memory. Like, less memory bandwidth, but 15 gigabit per second, 12 gigs. Presumably, great for mining. That's why I was kind of joking about it when I heard the announcement and the specs. Like, great, we'll never see one of these. And the 3060...
You're still right.
The 3060 Ti...
Sure.
I linked to... If you do a Google search for, like, #1 mining card or best mining card, I pulled up this chart over at NiceHash, the very popular mining service, and their #1 card for this year so far is the 3060 Ti. best price performance, hash rate, everything. And that is why you will never see a 3060 Ti anywhere near MSRP. It's too good at mining to be available to gamers. So when the 3060 was introed, it made sense. Like NVIDIA doing this kind of makes sense, because otherwise you'd never be able to buy one ever.
We've just taken their word for it. We've just taken their word for it that this is going to be a permanent fix. They're locked out.
Yeah, the explanation, and I was looking at the conversation that Ryan over at AnonTech was having with BDR on Twitter, because he said, they talked to NVIDIA and they said this is more than just driver level. This is like firmware, handshake, something that cannot be circumvented. It's actually
it's a load analysis. It's kind of what the process is doing inside the card to say that looks like mining. Yeah, we're going to kind of do whatever they do to slow it down. Whatever it is they're going to do. So
just rename the executable to totally not Ethereum.
I don't think that's. I think it's deeper than that, but I think you're onto something. What if they alter it in some such a way as like, oh, well, we're going to separate out these two processes so they don't happen simultaneously, and that cause it to trigger. There's far greater numbers of people who will look at a way to get around this than not. I mean, for goodness sake, people figured out how to install Linux on the old iPod screens, with the first color iPods. How big a community was that? And those were all locked down as well. Whatever. I just think it's good, I suppose, that they're trying. But by the same token, they make all these CMP cards that are just going to get shit canned when they're done. Thank you, e-waste. They're not doing anybody really any favors. You can't reuse them at all. So I'm not sure that whatever it is they've done, handshaking and all their good intentions is really going to hold the dam back forever. I'm going to say
someone will fire up Minecraft and build the actual processing in there, and then just offload it to the GPU to do via Minecraft, and it'll never even know. It'll be something ridiculous because you're not going to stop people.
It'll find a way to be obscured. The other thing, one thing I did read was like, hey, even at 50%, that's not bad. At a 50% rate, that's still pretty good. You can't really totally win. So,
and is it just one hash algorithm? Can you
that's
do a different
good point. Yeah,
coin on this thing?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a number of algorithms. Believe me, I really don't understand the whole thing entirely, so I don't do this kind of thing in the privacy of my own home.
Hey, you what?
I don't know.
Maybe. Now stick with me here.
Okay. All right, this is going to be good. Let me just.
Maybe NVIDIA can offer a card upgrade with. They'll actually send you a scratch-off card, and you type in the code in GeForce Experience, and it unlocks the full mining potential.
Right.
See, we're a bit more crazy than that, because I'm thinking that you should double-check your power usage when it's running at 50%, because if it's still drawing as much power as it did, as you think it should, that just means that you're giving 50% of your coins to NVIDIA. It hasn't actually done anything. It's just literally siphoning off 50% of yours towards Jensen's wallet.
Brilliant.
Hey, what about a gamer who wants to mine on nights and weekends?
I know, and yes, and that's the thing. It would be difficult, nay impossible, to actually get this card into the hands of gamers if you hadn't done this. But if
I implied gaming was a 9-to-5 job, by the way.
Well, right, but I'm just like if I'm looking at go to NiceHash and do a quote for my card, how much would I make a day on this thing? And if it's $4 or something, and well, I could make $2 half a day. I'm not using it. That choice is taken away from you because the hardware will intentionally reduce the performance. And so I can see both arguments. I just don't see a way to get it at all unless they had done it. And here's the Twitter conversation. Ryan Smith he's the editor-in-chief at AnonTech, of course. He had talked about this on his feed, and then he said that if an official line from NVIDIA is that this is a driver thing, given what they're trying to do, I doubt they're telling us everything. One way or another, we'll find out soon enough. He had said this is February 18. Brian Del Rizzo replies, "Hi Ryan, it's not just a driver thing. There is a secure handshake between the driver, the RTX 3060 silicon, and the BIOS firmware that prevents removal of the hash rate limiter." Kevin Crewell had asked, could you just use an older driver? And apparently no, because this is firmware. Now, could you use a custom driver? Could you flash this to different firmware? That's where I think eventually we're going to hear about this, because now that the card has hit the market, people are going to start to get them. There's going to be some experimentation done, I am sure.
I'm sure the attack surface is quite large, and people are motivated.
Exactly. So, we'll see. Hey, but isn't this a great time to be thinking about an upgrade or a new system?
I know. It's like
Thinking
basking
about it,
in
yeah.
the warm glow of a component sunshine.
Hey, Jeremy, why aren't you updating the hardware leaderboard?
I know.
Because it
I've
makes
heard
me
about it.
cry real tears doing
Come on, there are plenty of Intel CPUs out there.
It's true. And
For
they have
sale.
integrated graphics on a lot of them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You could always plug in a
but the price
GT
bumped.
1030.
I might have actually put that on there. I don't recall. No, I was going to
GPU
go
time.
with an Intel IGP, but it was selling for about double what the MSRP should have been, so I didn't. And I don't even know why it was that i3 was selling for that much.
I know
It's
why.
just depressing.
I know why.
Well, because it's there.
Because the Celeron, Pentium, and Core i3, the low end, the low power, are the ones that power the mining rigs. This was the problem I had in 2017, 2018, because I wanted to buy like a lower power CPU for some kind of a project, and you couldn't find them anywhere. I was going to the dark corners of e-tail online, like SuperBiz and other places that I hadn't shopped at in years, and I can't even remember where I finally found a Celeron in stock. But
Alibaba.
yeah, it wasn't. Anyway, Jeremy.
So,
Tell us-
yeah, that's the reason. All right, go ahead, Jeremy.
PC build recommendations in a time of drought is this incredibly uplifting article title. I see an older GPU in there. That looks like a 10 series graphics card there.
GTX, anyway.
Yep.
Yep. That one's might be a 10. So it was Guro 3D that sort of went through the same idea that I did, which is that, at some point you do have to update your recommendations, even if you really don't want to. And so they sort of went a different way, which is, as opposed to depressing the hell out of themselves, looking around to see what's actually available, they sort of stuck with in a perfect world, if you could actually get stuff, that place we used to live in a couple years back, this is what they would recommend. So, like, you still see the R3 3200G on there, even though, good luck finding one for $1,000, let alone anything. But if you're building a low-end system and you don't want to have to invest in a GPU because, well, there's issues there, this is still the chip to go with. And they sort of suggest, if you're going to pair it with something, 1650 or a 5500 XT. Again, almost impossible to find because you're going to be spending $300 or $400 on a card that is totally not worth that. So it's a little bit depressing to read in that you can't find anything, but it's also good to keep your wish list together because that once in a blue moon something actually does come, and all of a sudden that 5950X is suddenly available for a second, and it's on your wish list. So you get an email saying, "Hey, you've got about half a second to get that in the cart and buy it before it's gone." But hey, you can. So it's sort of worth taking a look just to see, what's out there. And there's some interesting discussions like, do you go with the 30 if you can afford it and it's there? Do you go with the RTX 3090 or do you do the 6900 XT? There's trade-offs. So it's kind of uplifting in a way to read that, back in the day when I could just sort of say, you know what? Yeah, I feel like building this system and I'm going to do it. Except, unfortunately, that's not where we're living right now. So you take a look and, just dream of a better world where when you want hardware, you can go out and buy it for within 10 to 15% of MSRP.
And really, it used to be, I won't pay MSRP. I'm going to wait for it to go on sale. or go to the used
You'll
market.
be waiting a while.
Yeah, and the used market now costs more than the new market whenever it's in stock.
One day this will be
Certain
over.
Certain local retail outlets that rhyme with Lycra Lenter actually has 5600 and 5800Xs actually in stock right now. More than 25 according to my website.
Nice.
Yeah.
My webpage.
Yeah, and I will say that, yes, availability of those seems to have gotten a bit better.
Indeed.
It's still not available like Newegg, Amazon.com every day of the week.
They've turned the GPU aisles into just scented candles.
That's nice.
Yeah.
You gotta, retail floor space cannot be empty. This was a tenet of retail when I was there. They would literally take like Sterilite plastic totes and just single face them all the way down. They called it toting out an aisle. You would never just leave aisles bare. You had to put something there.
Fry's didn't even have the totes, and that was the sadness at the end.
That's
they
what
couldn't even tote the aisles.
Because Fry's knew they were gone. There were the reports.
They couldn't even tote the aisles.
Apparently, were true.
I saw the pictures. It was sad.
Fry's is no more.
Bye, Fry's. Bye,
Hey,
Fry's.
if Toys R Us could go away, then Fry's can go away. It's unfortunate. But
Should have
true.
combined themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
Toy
Computers
Fry's.
are us.
Fry Toys. Computers are us. Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
It was like a Comp USA. That didn't do very well.
No, yeah. Let's see. Brett, would you like to guide us through?
I can, but I just want to give Josh the opportunity.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about NVIDIA. They made $5 billion this last quarter.
Billion.
That's a record for them. Q4 of last year, of course, they have kind of a funky way of talking about their years. They made $3.1 billion, which was, I think, a record at the time. So they've increased that by 60% in a year. Data centers stayed really kind of level, but I mean, their gaming and everything else just blew through the ceiling. I mean, it's insane. I mean, they're selling more video cards. There's nothing in the channel. They have essentially sold out all of their old chips that were just sitting around. Everything is gone, and they're making so much money. Because there's no price reductions to get rid of old stock. There's nothing there that they feel they need to do to move things because it's already all moving. And they made some serious bank this year. But in between 3 to 4 billion, and then this topped it off at $5 billion for a quarter. And so their share price probably is doing pretty well, when you look at it over the last couple of years, much probably like AMD. Revenue of $5 billion. Then they thought at most they would get 4.82. So I don't know a lot of these sub numbers. I don't know what net income was looking like. I didn't get a chance to look over a lot. But their margins stay high. They're moving a lot of product. They've got wafer orders galore with Samsung. The GA106. That's first time we've seen this chip with the 3060. More than likely, it'll be powering things like the 3050 Ti in a further cut down form. They're doing very well. They're taking advantage of the the pandemic and the amazing demand for their products across gaming, productivity, and of course mining. So it's nuts. The whole market is nuts, and they're taking advantage of it, and they're making some serious bank.
Hey, AMD's gonna they're gonna sell some graphics cards too. There's nothing in the channel from either one of them. So
Assuming that TSMC can find enough water.
I saw that story. I'm like, is that really? I guess that's a thing.
They're trucking in.
That's a thing. Yep. Now there's a shortage of water trucks, by the way, Josh. Did you read that too?
yes.
Yeah, Samsung is going to be really happy, and this kind of goes into something else. Is that Global Foundries missed out big time by not spending the money and developing further their 7 nanometer process to get to where it would actually be producing stuff. And right now they're probably talking to the U.S. government because Biden just put out that executive order to spend upwards of $38 billion to reinforce the chip infrastructure manufacturing, chip manufacturing infrastructure in the United States, because currently Intel still has, essentially cutting edge fabs. I mean, they've got their 10 nanometer process and SuperFET and all that stuff going on, and it works. Maybe not as profitable as Intel would like, but other than them, I mean, you've got TI and I can't remember what memory manufacturer, maybe even Samsung.
Global Foundries?
They're down in Austin. No, I was going to get to them, but I'm talking about the non-global foundries. TI. I think it's Samsung, but anyway, the memory fab down in Austin, and someone. Toshiba Flash used to have AMD's old fab that was in Austin. Anyway, but yeah, Global Foundries is uniquely poised to be able to suck up a lot of these funds and further develop their architecture technology. And it's not out of the question that they could go back to Samsung and say, "Hey, we want to license out your process technology." I don't know what they'd have to do in terms of retooling and what kind of fab space they need. I mean, there's a lot of room up in New York. They can put 2 more mega fabs, I believe, in the property in Malta. So it's going to be interesting to see what Global Foundries will be able to do, because if they had something online, even if it was a year later than TSMC, and if it was using even the 8 nanometer Samsung, their chip orders would just be insane at the time. I mean, automotive is crying for wafer starts. I mean, they're shuttering car factories because they can't get the electronic components for these cars. So,
which will hurt NVIDIA.
What's that?
Which can hurt NVIDIA in a way because they want to be selling their self-driving chips.
Their automotive is not the biggest part, obviously, and no. They have a handful of manufacturers that actually utilize their chips, but we're talking about a lot more basic stuff than that, and not just the self-driving, not just the display, but other portions of our highly computerized cars that use hundreds of different types of chips, and they're just
your automatic trunk
available.
Release, for crying out loud.
Yeah. No, but I mean,
Like
you've got
simple.
sensors and your
Backup
transmission
camera
and,
control chip.
Yeah. So, anyway, what were we originally talking about before I went on that?
Earnings.
Financials.
NVIDIA's billions.
Financial.
Yeah, but NVIDIA now has 4 ampere chips. The A100. And then they got the GA102, which is the 3090, 3080. 104, which is the 3060 Ti and 3070. And now the 106, which is the 3060 and that. So it's I was surprised. I mean, this is... Talk about the heat and the wattage that this thing was able to pull.
Oh, that card? 170. And I measured a total of like 172.4 peak total board power draw, so right on the 170 target. And then this particular sample, because it's so small, under load, this was actually spinning the fans at 73%. So it gets up there. So
And what was the temp? What would the temp peak out at?
Temp was like hotspot was 80. The regular temp was reported at I think 68, and that's in a 24 degree room roughly. This is Celsius, so but this is one sample. There's no reference card that you can there's no Founders Edition card. So a bigger version of this will be cooler and quieter. This one is very compact. So if you can take and that's only like 2,400 RPM, I think, or no, just over 2,000 RPM on these fans. It wasn't super loud at all. So
nice.
But yeah, they're gonna sell them all. Doesn't matter.
I think they already did.
Yeah. They're gone. Hey, you know it's not gone.
I'll tell you. I'll tell you what's not gone.
What is it, Brad?
I spent some time helping to review a couple of Corsair components. Corsair sent over a combo mouse mat, and I had it on my head last time. Actually, I have it over here. It is ginormous. Let me just unfurl this thing.
Now,
hang on. I'm almost done. All right. Okay. All right.
That little box on the end, is there any kind of wireless charging built into this mat, or is that the RGB controller?
It is the RGB controller, but it also has a USB-C in on it. I don't know if I'm too close to it.
Now we can
there.
see
That's
it.
a little bit better.
Now we can see it.
And it has wrong side. It has USB-A on the side as well as the side facing the mat, which is nice for a wired mouse. Which Corsair also sent over their new mouse. I have it right here. That's it in its natural habitat. The mouse and mat in its play zone. So I let somebody borrow them that actually plays a lot of video games, and they have tweaked their environment with a special mouse and an Aerox mouse. And I said, hey, do you want to try this mat and this mouse? You're an avid gamer, and write something up for me. So I did. And I gave it to him, and I did my impressions of it. I'm clearly not a super avid gamer, so I gave it to somebody who was, and they gave me their impressions of it, and it's in the review. And you cannot believe how well it compares. And if I can just show you this mouse here a second, you can see the pictures right there, but like literally, I'm holding it in my hand. Right here. It is a very lightweight mouse, a little bit heavier than the Holy Aerox one, but this is $29 from Corsair. Very, very impressive. And it compared very, very favorably for somebody who games a heck of a lot. The cord is really nice, very flexible, like a cloth, like paracord kind of thing. It's an amazing amount of quality and usability, especially for someone who's an actual gamer. Seemed to enjoy it. I used it for a while, doing pedestrian things, but I wasn't gaming with it.
Let's talk about the nitty gritty. Let's get into sensor. What kind of sensor are they using this thing? How insane
it's up to
is the DPI on it?
Oh gosh, the DPI is insane. It's like 1800 DPI or 2000 DPI. It'll crank up to. Okay. I'm sorry, not 2000. I meant 18,000. I meant not 8.
And that, what, for a gaming mouse, it's actually kind of low, but it fits this price point, so that makes sense. PMW
it does, and the polling
391 is the sensor. Okay.
The polling rate is 1,000 hertz. It has 6 programmable buttons. $30, like I said.
This sounds a lot like QVC.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
It's just $29.
Yeah, if you get it now, the mouse mat. I just
6 payments of $3 on eBay.
I don't mean to come off like that, but it is sort of like an iterative kind of thing where you just kind of spew some of the it does this, it does that.
Yeah.
You got to have a very big desk in order to accommodate this mat. The mat's nice. It's got no hang-ups on it, but it's freaking huge. Corsair's got it on sale right now, and I called attention to it. It's $10 off. It's expensive for a mat. It's $49.
For a desk mat, though, that's not too bad.
Yeah.
If you think about it,
it's not the Gamer's Nexus mat, though.
It's not.
I mean, if you're an enthusiast,
I wouldn't mouse on that one.
That's the one.
I would not.
Really? Because
I wouldn't mouse on. No.
Mar the design.
It's grippy.
Is it?
You're not going to get a smooth roll on it. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, but this one is nice. The only drawback for the mat is the stitching along the edging, and that might catch you on the wrist or the forearm as you kind of go along. And the only other problem I had with it, and I mentioned this in my take on it, was that it's deep, and that if you want to bring a monitor close to you and the feet are bracing, you're going to step on the edge. And that might not be something you want to do with an expensive mouse mat with a light pipe.
I've dealt with that very issue, Brett.
Yeah.
It's real. It's a real problem.
The only other thing that if you hate the IQ software, this is not for you. You've really got to have it in order to take full advantage of everything to do with the programmable coloring on the mat and all the features inside the mouse, as well as doing things like surface analysis. You had the picture up there a second.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty cool.
It is. It does. You can calibrate the mouse to the surface that you use, and it actually works. It will make a big difference.
did work.
And
I made mention of like, it seems like this is actually doing something, so I'm going to go ahead and do this. Not bad. Like I said, the mouse is, I think, an extremely good value at $29. The mat, it's an acquired taste. It's like I said, you've got to have enough real estate to roll that thing out. So yeah, that might not be for me, but the mouse is great.
And we'll leave you with one of this is a very purple photo.
It is. It gets purpley, more purple later.
It gets purplier later. You're absolutely right about
very
that.
purpley later.
Very much.
So yeah, this is a good surface if you like this sort of thing and can fit it. And the mouse is a pretty good value at $29, honestly.
Yeah, their wireless version of that mouse is
it's the Katar Pro XT, by the way. I didn't name it, so it's the Katar Pro XT.
The wireless version with their Slipstream technology is only like $10 more, I think. It was the best low-cost mouse I've ever used. So they're doing really good stuff with affordable peripherals these days.
That all work together. They all have a sort of a design language that you can see they're sort of very similar in the way that they pattern everything, and the right down to the, like, I don't know if you can see this. Here, check this out. If you can see this edge.
Let me switch
over
to your camera again.
Yeah. You see this edge? Like this ripple pattern along the side, this grippy part right here, where they have this pattern in here. It's raised, so it's grippy. Yeah.
How does it feel? How does it feel against your delicate skin?
Non-abrasive. I don't feel like this would chafe over the long period.
What about more sensitive areas?
That's stop it. The point is, this is Corsair.
Joystick.
It's not like a joystick. It's on both sides. But this is the design language that you see everywhere for them. I mean, it's even on their packaging.
What, things being ridged? Or ribbed?
That particular shape. No, it's that particular shape. The sort of
diamond
shape.
pattern? Yeah.
Oh my God!
You're going to talk about this a lot in the case review. Look, we're going to talk about this a lot in the case review.
That's a different case review.
But
wait a minute. I do bring this up in the case review.
I read your review.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Hey, let's pause right here, please.
Please.
To hear from our first and only, I guess, sponsor this week.
Thank you, TextExpander.
TextExpander removes the repetition out of work so you can focus on what matters most. Say goodbye to repetitive text entry, spelling and messaging errors, and trying to remember the exact right thing to say. Very useful in customer service. When you're using TextExpander, you can say the right thing in just a few keystrokes. It's better than copy and paste. It's better than scripts and templates. TextExpander snippets allow you to maximize your time by getting rid of the repetitive things you type while still customizing and personalizing your messages. TextExpander can be used on any platform, any app, anywhere you type. So if you've got iOS, Windows, Mac, Linux, it works anywhere. Take your time back and increase your productivity. Show listeners get 20% off their first year so you can watch your snippets of text expand. TextExpander even has ready-made batches of snippets, free to use like autocorrections, which work across any app. So go to textexpander.com/podcast to learn more and get 20% off your first year.
And we're back. Next up on the list, I think we're going to talk about a USB-C enclosure for your NVMe sensitives.
Ooh.
Speaking of
also
sensitive
$29.99.
So this is
No way.
BYOD, right? Bring your own drive?
Yes. Yeah, at $30, you do not get an SSD in there.
Okay. It's
Why
not like
did
that
they
one
name it
digital
this?
black that came with one, but it was $500. Anyway,
Yeah, well.
tell us about this, Jeremy.
Yeah, the Sabrent EC SNVE. So it's
Rolls off
USB,
the tongue, as it were.
It's beautifully enunced, and just I don't know what they did with the M either. But yeah, so if you've got a gumstick style drive of just about any size, it's a nice little aluminum enclosure. It connects via USB-C and at the proper Gen 2. So you're actually going to get the benefit of having an NVMe SSD in there. And like I said, it's dirt cheap. It has, it's completely toolless. The pin pops in and out to secure your SSD in there, and there's a button which you push to open it up. Inside you can see a little bit of a copper heat plate on it to get it, ensure that it's not going to toast itself, because it is a fairly tight enclosure. I mean, it's, as you can see, not that much bigger than an actual 2280 M.2. The testing that they did, they could see over 1,000 megs on the reads and the writes using a Rocket 4, not even the faster Rocket 4. That, but then again, at that point, you've sort of maxed out USB 3.2 Gen 2. So I don't complain. Like, don't throw your highest end SSD in there, obviously. But if you've got one that can hit those speeds, slap this in there for $30. You can take it anywhere. Plug it in with USB-C and, play your bloody games off of it. Do whatever you want. Because, I mean, the speeds are insane. It's absolutely wonderful for a little enclosure. It doesn't look too bad either.
What is the controller for this one, did they say?
I dug a little bit and didn't really find it.
Interesting. I know that was a big point of discussion the last enclosure I did, was which chip was actually in it, and apparently there was a similar model number that had a different controller in it. Some of them play nicer with certain USB controllers than others, apparently. So,
that was the show where I happened to notice that it looked like a lobster.
oh yeah, the Realtek.
Yes, the Realtek
Yes.
lobster.
Yeah, and we do we even have on our list to talk about AMD addressing X570 USB issues, working with the
No,
Reddit
that's actually a
community?
good one. We should probably throw that in there next if you want to talk about it a bit.
Yeah, let's
And
pull up a story. Who had a story about this? AMD, this is on Anand Tech. AMD to probe potential USB connectivity issue on Ryzen systems. This is from February 22nd. And just the thing that we've kind of alluded to, this is something that I have firsthand experience with, but it's one of those things where the second you bring it up, it's, well, what configuration were you running? And what version of the driver did you have? Well, what do you have it plugged into? Like, it's...
Oh, you sound defensive.
It's right, because I would sort of mention offhand, like, yeah, I don't really trust AMD platforms when I have to rely on USB devices in like a production environment. Because Patrick Norton and I went back and forth on this when we were doing Twitch, because we were both using a very similar setup. We had Sony a6000 cameras, Camlink 4K, which connects via USB 3. When I would have this connected to a Ryzen system, occasionally our video would freeze. And I'm thinking, oh, this is Skype related because we did the show over Skype. He was having the same issue. And finally one day I was like, hey, Patrick, is that a Ryzen system by any chance? He's like, yes. I had just switched my streaming PC from a Ryzen back to an Intel at that time, and all the problems went away. So at that point I was thinking, oh, maybe it's just like Camlink 4K driver related, but other issues have crept up, and my personal experience is that USB is more reliable on Intel platforms. As unexciting as that position is when every enthusiast wants you to be on an AMD platform, I'll cut most of that out because I'm just ranting at this point. But
Ranting.
Yeah, raving. I can't believe he raised his voice there too. I think.
I will say though, I have not done extensive testing, and I have not run the Camlink on a B550 board. I need to do that. I need to revisit Ryzen 3000 processors on B550 and see if there's any kind of USB connectivity things. But Josh, didn't you talk about external USB-C like NVMe enclosures and Ryzen and having like some throughput or like stalling issues?
I have not, but I have heard of some people having those issues. But I've been lucky. I think the main issues were a lot of camera stuff, streaming things that just didn't work. The other problem is USB 2.0. You'd have devices that would just disconnect and reconnect for no particular reason. So, my luck has been really good with my Ryzen and X570 platforms, and I don't know why. I haven't had any real issues, but I don't really have the same type of things. Like I'm recording 4K video to a drive. That just doesn't happen.
I'm in your boat, Josh. I haven't really run into it, but it's because I don't really do it.
Yeah. I'm IO
Diagnostic?
intensive.
That's that's the thing. If you're not pushing the limits of the interface, you'd never have a problem. It's video capture, like USB video capture stuff that was doing it. Or those NVMe drives.
No, there was an NVMe there. Yeah, no, until we updated some of the firmware, I have the this one. I do remember having issues on that ASRock board when I plugged in the USB-C and were trying to do reads. It would just time out. And then I'd put it on another one and it worked fine. And so I think when I did that ASRock review, I had to cut off the USB results because it just wouldn't work when you're doing it. But it's since then been fixed through multiple BIOS upgrades but yeah. And also firmware for this thing. This is the was it my digital SSD? Yeah.
Looks like it.
M2X. It's a good one. Except, kind of not as easy to get into as the one you were talking about.
I think something to consider is that this is probably such an intermittent problem for a lot of people, and there's so many different configurations that have caused problems or had absolutely no issues at all, that it makes sense for AMD to kind of work with the community, analyze the different configurations and see, because not only do they have to worry about what you were plugging into it and what driver release version you were on and what else was connected, but also what version of the firmware are you running? What AGESA version are you running of the 64,000 we've had since the launch of Zen 2 processors?
It's not that many.
No, it's like 61,000.
Yeah.
Jeremy, would you like to...
Oh, wait, before you go on. Wait, I just got an
Yes.
email. I got an email from
Breaking
from
news.
Patreon. A member edited their pledge. Thank you very much. And the name they have edited themselves to is Laser Wolf, and that's Lazar. Don't be confused. Laser.
Yeah, that's you know
Laser.
who Laser Wolf is.
No, please enlighten us.
No, I'm afraid I don't.
You know what? You
Save
did
us,
not
Josh.
do your homework.
No, I didn't. I told you I wouldn't at the time. I'm not
No
lying to
Fiddler
you.
on the Roof. Laser
No,
Wolf
I did.
was
Somehow I didn't watch Fiddler
Well, that
on
was
the Roof.
him.
was the butcher from Fiddler on the Roof.
Okay.
Somebody.
This is the
Did their
musical segment of the program.
We said there would be no musical segment. Okay, we didn't say that
We
this
didn't
time.
say that, but we should have said that.
The one time that I swore we wouldn't have a musical number, Josh sang in that episode. So I
But
can't
you
win.
said that we wouldn't have one in that episode.
Yes, I specifically called out the fact that there would be no musical number tonight, and then Josh sang.
Don't make
during
promises that
this
you
episode.
can't keep.
Yep, that's a challenge.
Yeah. No, nobody wants to hear me sing right now.
It was like a month ago. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, anyway.
Anyway,
moving on. Firefox.
cookies, man.
Tell me, Jeremy, what is this? What does this mean?
Cookies, they're just, they've become
Delicious.
sentient and are evolving. So, which of the wonderful worlds was... Okay, so this is the brand new Firefox update that came out earlier this week.
Right.
Is what it's trying to do is set up an individual segregated area on your machine for each site that you visit to dump the cookies in them so that they can't track you across multiple sites by seeing which other cookies have been dumped on your Firefox session recently. So, I mean, it's a wonderful idea, and it sort of goes well with some of the other stuff that they've been trying to do recently to try and make things just a little bit more private and harder to track you over time. Because, I mean, once you've got the cookies going and then you start looking at language packs installed and general mouse movements and screen resolution, you can, get a very, very unique fingerprint of a person's system without ever really doing anything other than analyzing metadata and the cookies. So by each site having its own little cookie jar, and in theory the sites won't be able to get into each other's cookie jars, you won't quite get the same sort of perpetual tracking throughout a session that you do now. Now, some sites do sort of depend on these cookies to provide you with, an experience that isn't annoying, and every time you visit, it's like, hi, you're a first-time visitor. And you have to go through that sort of crap. Not that I recommend any site ever do that, because it's just flat out annoying. But, there are some browsing sessions that this might actually hurt, because you're sort of passing from one site to another via a link, and that link is expecting to have a cookie to say, okay, he's coming from here to there, and that's where your discount code is going to come from. So that may not work anymore. It's an interesting security update. It's worth grabbing. And then the other thing that they did is for the people out there that want to watch like 4 or 5 movies at once. Well, now you can, because they've increased the picture-in-picture capacity on it. So you can stream multiple videos at the same time. And I don't grasp the reason for this, but I'm sure that someone out there really likes doing
Like this, because there's 4
Very
of us
busy people.
streaming simultaneously.
It's not quite the. It's not
But
quite
you'd be
the same.
watching Linux Gamecast on another one, and whatever hockey game is currently going on another one, and you get, I don't know. Maybe I just
If you subscribe to a lot of YouTube channels, I mean, how else are you going to watch everything?
We got to watch
There's not enough
simultaneously.
time in the day.
Right.
So
Yep.
if you have a favorite music channel, you can listen to that in the background. And not like you couldn't do that already, though. Just it plays in the background anyway. The audio does. But hey, video pop-out, multi-view. You have a baseball game, news.
picture in picture in picture in picture in picture in picture.
Stuff you can already do by just dragging the tab out into a new window. But hey.
Hey, the cookie privacy thing I like as a an operator, as a user, but as a developer of finely ground web applications, it horrifies me to think that I can't get the data that might be needed in order to do that feature that the customer has got to have. It just might be really annoying to develop web apps with, and stuff is going to break, I think.
You need to
So
stop.
there's definitely going to be some side effects.
Stop
So
developing
whatever.
websites. Just start, crypto.
I
That's
know.
all anybody wants to do anymore. I just need to wait for
Yeah.
Elon Musk to tell me what to invest in next.
So I've got a Vega 56, Josh. I think I'm going to crypto the hell out of that. I hear it's
What
Or you
kind
can
of-
just sell it and get $600 profit right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
you have a point there.
I have a valid.
What could
point.
it possibly even make? A Vega 56?
Apparently,
I guess
more
it
than
hashes out
$600 worth.
Ethereum at a 30% greater rate than a 3070.
Now, in case anybody missed this
Really?
earlier, we're not making this up.
Yeah.
The
Really?
dumb fact of the matter is these are going for just $600 on eBay right now.
Yeah. That's impressive. Okay. Next story. Something that isn't so good. If you jumped on the Apple M1 bandwagon, this could be an incorrect reading. And it also could be a software flaw. But
Or it's part of that virus that's spread everywhere and isn't really doing anything. But
That's true.
Maybe it's
Only
chewing on your SSD.
30,000 Macs. Only 30,000.
there are only 30,000 Macs. All right.
The reason I put this story in here is so you guys can make fun of me, by the way. That's the only reason.
M1 Mac users report excessive SSD wear. Like really excessive. The amounts of reads and writes that are quoted in these reports are alarming. More than most
Yeah,
people would have
it's-
in years of use.
It looks like thrashing, when you run out of RAM and you're swapping and stuff like that, and you have a process that's just continuing to chew on that. It kind of clocks out that the SSDs look like they're being abused in that way. That may not be what's going on. It's like one of those log files that you constantly write to for every mouse movement. Yeah, don't do that. But it looks like, I'm not saying it's what's going on. It just has the appearance of a lot of activity for no good reason. And this could lead to early wear out of the SSDs. Yes, obviously they have a lifespan. That doesn't mean it's going to wear out in 6 months, but instead of, 3 or 4 years, it may be 2. So people tend to keep their Macs a long time. Just looking historically back, this could be a real issue because the what we're not saying here, but maybe people already know this, all this stuff is soldered. It's not changeable. You can't just pop it out and put in a new one. They've done all the thinking for you. You don't need to do anything to your machine. It's all soldered together and replaceable as one unit. Throw your data out or whatever and just get a new one.
Well, right, because that's what Apple wants. When Steve Jobs was still there, he wanted the computers to be sealed. He didn't want...
It's an appliance,
you to be able to put
man.
an expansion card in. That was the big fight he had with Wozniak, was Woz wanted expansion slots on the Apple II, and he got them, and he kept them, but when Steve went to do the Macintosh, it was like, no, seal it. No expansion.
Yeah, and New Bus was, well, they went away.
We could talk about Apple history at length, but we're not going to. The sad...
But people still want that. I noticed there was actually an immediate comment. It was like, when are you guys going to do that retro show? So.
Oh, well, yeah. I need to go up to the attic and actually get an old Mac out of
Weird
there.
Mac components will be a part of the retro show.
Diablo is resurrecting both Blizzard's past and its future, says this article at Rock Paper Shotgun that Jeremy linked to. Stay a while and listen is the...
Stay a while. Listen.
So, what's going on with this?
Well, I mean, the first thing you think about when you think about Diablo is Destiny, right?
Of course. Why wouldn't I?
Because that is the whole idea they've got going here, is that people really love Diablo 1 and 2, and, once we pulled our heads out of certain orifices and gave you an add-on, some people actually like 3. But what else do we have that's popular right now? Well, Destiny is really popular. Why don't we turn Diablo into an MMO? A looter clicker sort of thing that you can meet in hubs and go out with your friends and slaughter endless hordes of demons.
Can we have Sebastian, the marketing guy, speak again about what a good idea this was?
Look, mobile is always the answer. Is that where this is going? Or is this not? It'll be microtransactions.
I'm sure that there will probably be microtransactions if you can't get that particular drop that you were looking for. So, I mean, the better part of 10-minute trailer that they've put out.
Yeah.
It's just looks interesting. I mean, and what you're seeing right now is the remaster of the originals.
It looks like Diablo 3.
They've prettified them. Yeah. With the sorceress and such. So that will be kind of fun, just to sort of see this at higher textures, because, I mean, come on, we played this at 640 by 480, didn't we?
800 by 600.
Ooh. Did you have the glide version? Did you play
I did have the glide version.
That'll do it. But yeah, Diablo 4, which, was announced November of 2019, and of which we've seen almost nothing, will be out at some point, and that's their sort of basic idea is, we'll take the idea of Destiny, which, is the same sort of loot drop based play, but with multiplayer, and then we're going to make Diablo massively multiplayer, which, if you've been paying attention, you might realize this means no more LAN, no more local play, online only.
Boo.
This annoys me.
And you have to be online in order to even start it up, right? Is that what I read?
Yes, that is what they're describing.
That's how an MMO usually works.
Yeah, well, except it's Diablo. I just want to run around and click things till either my finger or the mouse button breaks.
People probably said that about Warcraft as well. Because, for children out there in the audience probably don't know this, but Warcraft was a game long before it was an MMO. And it was a great game. Warcraft 2 especially. I loved Warcraft 2. Warcraft 2 was wildly popular.
Okay. It was okay.
Well, mostly because of the mod community. Because didn't other games come out of Warcraft 3? Was it Dota?
Well, that's where that's where Dota and the other one came from.
That
whole number one terrible movie I never watched.
I did not watch the movie either. I did.
I've watched it. It is truly horrific.
I understood it was terrible and steered clear of that one.
Okay, this blows my mind because Diablo 3 was actually released in 2012. How is it 9 years ago?
Isn't that crazy?
It doesn't seem that long.
Yeah.
Just don't. And Reaper of Souls, the add-on, was 2014. This is just
still
life is dumb. So is time.
Yep,
sucks.
Time is stupid.
It's dumb.
Well said. All right, we've reached the part of our show that I think everybody's been waiting for. Every once in a while, something happens that's a little beyond the ordinary, and camera angles become even more exotic. lighting, art reviews transcend, become something more, some sort of high art, I guess is what I'm trying to say. It's Brett's latest case review, the Fractal Meshify 2 Compact. You've seen the YouTube reviews, you've heard what people have to say about it. What does Brett have to say about it? And how off kilter can he get his camera in capturing these still images?
All the way off kilter.
I don't even know what's happening in this photo. It's so...
I know, but isn't it awesome?
Kind of. I mean, we'll talk. We don't have to talk.
It kind of is. It kind of is. No, we do.
Kind of
we do.
is, but it also kind of isn't.
No, it's...
So let's see.
Look
what they've gotten us into, it says.
Yes. Yeah, look what they've gotten us into now. And it's this is the previous version of the case on the right. That's the Meshify 2, the new Meshify 2. The one on the left is the new Meshify 2 Compact. Now, they may not look extremely different.
Wait a minute.
In this,
I thought this was going to be a lot shorter. It says Compact.
I know. If you look at the next two pictures on the bottom right, scroll down and to the right, you'll see that you can see that the Compact one is indeed quite a bit thinner than the
not as
Meshify
wide?
2. Not as wide. You can see it.
Okay.
It's literally not as wide. And if you go to the next one, next image, you'll see that it's shorter.
I mean,
front to
I
back.
can't really tell from this angle if it's shorter or not.
Well, it's definitely shorter front to back. It's about as tall. It's not a lot shorter top to bottom, height.
It
off
looks
of the
shorter
desk.
top to bottom in this image.
That's just a distortion of the way that the angle is. But the but it's actually not as deep. This is some stock photography.
Yeah, it looks like a Meshify, But hey, like the
it's taken a lot of cues from the Meshify 2 and a lot of the good things from the Define 7 and really updated it so that it is really, I think it's going to be one of their top selling cases. I imagine that this is just the right size. Everybody's reasonably kitted out build will not get lost in this. There's no reason to build an extensive water cooling environment if you're just putting in a graphics card. You got your ATX or MATX or even ITX board would not be out of place in something like this. So standard builds are going to be great.
What's the price
in
on
this
this
case.
thing? What's the price?
It is about 110. So it's a very crowded field, but this is a high quality case, and thermally, I'll just cut to one of the punchlines.
Well, it's
really good.
Yeah.
Now, I did use a vertical CPU mount in my build, and I think that contributed to some of the good thermal characteristics. Here you can see the removability of the filters and how well they match up between the nylon filter screens and the supports, as well as the plastic frames and things like that. Attention to detail with that.
It's a
everything
unified.
comes
the filter in the bottom comes out the front.
It does.
Hey, hold on. Let's pause here for a moment. This screwdriver looks familiar to me. Did that come inside of a Scythe cooler by any chance?
Good eye. I will agree. It came in a Scythe cooler.
I have a couple of those laying around. Those are my Scythe cooler ones. They go along with my quiet screwdrivers. Yeah, I do.
Do you like the screwdriver? Yeah.
Yeah, the stubby handle. It helps.
And it has a long reach. Please pause here. This is I get a lot of static from people if I don't have any foliage. So I made sure to artfully position some foliage, and I want people to pause here.
Yes.
For some foliage-induced moment of zen. So during the read through, if you could just pause here and just kind of maybe lean back a little bit and just take this in, and then move on.
Embrace the flora.
Okay. And you see this. The plant is actually in a couple of pictures.
Is the
but
plant
I take a lot of heat.
Is it a real plant?
It is. It is absolutely real.
Doesn't look very healthy.
It is.
It sounds a little catty, but all right. Hey, look, removable top mount. That's always nice.
It is extremely nice and necessary in my particular build because I needed to gain a little slack for the AIO lines in order to tuck them behind the vertical GPU. So that was really important. The fans are notched.
Cable openings.
Well grommeted, top and side.
Yeah,
did you see those little notches on the inside of that fan? If you go to that one, Fractal says that reduces fan noise.
Oh, hey,
so good on them.
Some pretty quiet fans.
These fans only max out. The front ones max out at about 1,000. The rear one maxes out at about 1,200. And I only spun them up to about 80%. So they were sub, 1,000 RPMs in the exhaust and about 800 RPMs in the front. They work really well. Had no issues whatsoever.
Here?
That's the bottom disassembled. The cage comes out of the bottom, which, in my opinion, is not very usable. You can, but you need a shorter power supply. I had a very long, those 1,000 watt Corsair power supplies.
The RM1000.
A more reasonable. Yeah, it's very, very long. A more reasonably sized ATX power supply. You could probably keep that in there and move the cables around, but not my version. This is an extreme close up of something that I think is nice that Fractal did. All of the pieces that are designed to come off like this all have captured thumb screws, so good on them.
Yes, the captured thumb screws.
A sign
are
of a quality
nice.
case. Sign of a quality case. And the frame. Go ahead.
Audio listeners love details like this too. It's just like, hey, let's pause here for a moment and silently observe this photo. Although I will say, this is one of those cases that has the removable bracket that you attach your PSU to, which does make it a little easier to install. I always liked it when they do that.
I mention it I take it as a sign of this is probably a quality case if they're giving me one of these brackets.
Oh, there you are with your bracket openings. You and your design language cohesive bracket opening hole shape.
You make fun, but I'm not wrong. Because I actually took a picture of it. You're looking right at it.
It makes it look like it was all designed by the same company.
And audio listeners love that part. Hey, I've worked with cases that have like solid, frames and holes in one areas and diamonds in others. Hey, man.
Have you if you haven't punched out holes, like your expansion slots, when you actually had to take a screwdriver and like punch it out, or you try to twist it and you'd miss, you slice your finger open on the razor sharp metal.
There's going to be a lawyer to take that case, by the way. Yeah. What I'm talking about is the Trident Z slice. The Trident Z slice. You know what I mean?
Hey, I have not injured myself on those DIMMs.
Right.
But
okay.
They're pretty sharp.
Swiftly moving on. So there's plenty of room in the back to route cables. It's not excessive.
What is it, like an inch?
It's about 25 millimeters. Yeah, about
what is that
an inch.
In American? Okay.
It's about an inch. Yeah, roughly. I actually didn't like go up a little bit. Go up again.
What?
I didn't like the can. No, you're on the picture.
You were just
at down.
This
down.
one?
No, right there. Stop. The slots that are next to the motherboard at an angle. All right.
Everything in this picture is at an angle. What am I supposed to be looking at?
No, it's the pass-through slots that are just to the left of the cable run, or just to the right of the cable run. They're at an angle. You can see the fold in the case right there. It actually only works really well if the connections to the motherboard are at a right angle. Otherwise, you kind of have to come out in an awkward way to kind of loop around and connect up with the motherboard. And it's very close to an ATX board. So I did not necessarily appreciate the angled pass-throughs in that space.
I kind of see why they did it. You just need to get yourself one of those EVGA boards that has those like ATX coming out the side.
Yes, that would have been ideal, and I mentioned that would have been really good. That's just a close up of that space.
Yep,
that angled area.
I mean, they're making the
standard stuff.
Space they have.
Yep, USB 3, standard stuff. Nothing's
unlabeled here. Bags. I know you called that.
I mentioned that. I'm like, what? I opened the wrong bag at first for the motherboard connections because.
I mean, at this point, can't you just eyeball it?
Well, most of the time, but I'm like, are those the fat head ones or the thin head? I don't even know. So I just found ones that actually.
I can do it with my eyes closed, but I can see why labeling the bags would be important.
Sometimes they change the thread pitch. So yeah.
Okay. Not everybody gives you the tackle box.
You're going to want numbered screws.
I know. I'm so demanding. So this time I decided to use a bunch of other Fractal gear and use their vertical CPU mount. Yeah, which I thought was really cool. So this is just the show a picture here of the AIO mounted. It works really well up top. That's a 240. Fits really well.
Royal.
The gold, baby.
The most beautiful memory on Earth for people who like gold and crystal.
And for audio listeners,
$1,000 on DIMMs.
Yes, and for audio listeners, you can see the reflection in that. It's just
because it's so shiny. Nice.
Yep. That was a go back one. I just wanted to note this.
Let's make this take even longer.
I know. These fans included with the AIO were the same ones they included with the case. So they think highly of them as case fans and
Wait a minute.
AIO fans.
They're high static fans?
Well, I'm just saying they think they think the same. This is just I fight with that a lot later.
Let's see. Vertical GPU mount. Yes. I do like the way this looks all put together with this vertical GPU.
Me too.
It's very stylish.
I thought it looked very, very nice, actually.
We're breezing past your entries here about your difficulty and how Ryzen just isn't as easy as Intel.
I do complain about that.
Complaining like
what I said.
Have you not used a clip-based?
What I said
mechanism?
was, Ryzen seems like a lot of extra work. Maybe it's just.
What does that mean? A lot of extra work.
One of the first times ever I've had to reseat a DIMM and it wouldn't post when I first plugged everything in. I had got an error that wasn't even in the manual.
That's your fault.
Was it though?
Not seating a DIMM properly? Yes, that is your fault. And by the way, those
just like the other one.
Those DIMMs, those are the like high end. Let me get
they were nice.
Those are the high end ones that AMD sent with the Zen 2 review kit. Those are like 3600 CAS 16 Samsung ICs.
They come in their own little hinged box with a foam insert that exactly cuddles them with a little finger riser, so you can just peel one of them out at a time. So they thought a lot of them.
Look, you do have to use some pressure, but you always have to be very careful when using like the clip style, because that attaches to like the Corsair ones, right? Where there's a little bracket that actually uses AMD's retention mechanism, right?
The CPU one.
Yeah, because there are some AIOs that will give you a separate bracket to screw into AMD's backplate, bypassing the two black plastic things. But Corsair, and apparently this one, it uses these two little loops that you attach to two of the thumb screws, right?
I just didn't tighten it down.
It's an Asetek design. And you have to tighten it very well and make sure that it's squarely on the clip on both sides. So
I told you, I tightened it down not enough the first time, and the silicon squealed the next time I did it, and then it was fine.
Oh, no.
Damn good thing you weren't using a TR4.
I'm going to say, no.
Those come with a torque wrench. Those come with a torque wrench.
Yeah, but you have to do it in the right sequence, and you have to have it absolutely perfectly aligned first. You're going to damage some pins. Because there's a lot of work.
There's a lot of pins.
Let's look at Brett's
finish it up on the chart
Ryzen
and the
builds. Didn't turn out so well.
I took pictures of it and admitted that it was all me.
Did you? You said maybe.
I did.
Ryzen seems like more work. Maybe it's just me. Pictures. Look, Ryzen. Intel never did this to me.
Intel was not mean, but it came out really attractive. I really liked it.
It did. I mean, let's talk about thermals.
It worked great. I do.
Let's talk about thermals
and to be honest with you, it didn't really make much of a difference when I had the door open and closed, at least in my build. And I think I contribute that to the modest cooling requirements of the 3700X, the fact it was on a 240 AIO. I had a lot of exhaust, two exhausts, and obviously in the roof through the AIO, and one at the rear, so plenty of airflow. And the vertical GPU mount didn't really make a lot of difference with the front door on or fully off. It only made a degree, I think, if you check the charts, it's like a degree or 2 degrees or something like that in CPU cooling. It and the GPU could breathe very well. And I overclocked them both just to try and push them a little.
That's
impressive.
I was going to say, because the 3700X is only a 65 watt CPU. So
yeah,
240 with a 3700X, like that's a massive overkill. Should be running at full speed all the time.
And I ran clock tuner on it, and I got it.
End up with?
And it 4.25 at 1.2 volts. 4.25 on all.
Look at this picture.
Yeah. They called it a silver sample. Yep. Yeah, this came out really well. I think it's a really good looking build. It is, and I used the new mouse and the new key, the new mat on it.
I mean, it's almost sickening. Look at this. The card is purple. The RAM is purple. The cooler has this ring around the pump that's purple, and you've got purple lighting coming out from the side of the motherboard. You've used a purple background, purple.
I did.
Keyboard, when you're using Royal RAM, you gotta have the Royal color.
Dude, the mouse pad has purple LEDs on it. This is
Yes. So
alarming.
this is that mouse. This is that
You're gonna burn your
MM700.
retinas.
Oh, it was really attractive in the dark. Actually, it was actually really nice. I know a lot of people say, "Oh, it's
you
too
play some
purple,
soft
it's
music?
screamy." No, I did not. I didn't
Oh, look at
play
this.
soft music.
Look at the
was no wine.
prestigious award bestowed upon this
did.
case.
No, you got to read the thing that comes up above it. This review
you
has
read
been
it.
brought to you by the color purple and the letter C. C for compact. I basically said, if there was somebody who came to me and said, I need a basic case that's going to be high quality, and they had enough money to spend in their budget to afford a quality case, I would definitely steer them towards this. This is a little bit more desk friendly. I like the design than the Meshify 2, which I really like the design of, but it was a little bit large, and the build that I did kind of got lost in the space. There was a lot of empty space in that one. This one, obviously, completely done up with an ATX board and that sizable 2070 Super I put in it. Looked great. No empty space. I think it's a great case. I think they're going to sell a lot of them. If you like purple, you can probably change yours to a different color if you wanted. It's up to you.
If you like purple, every once in a while this microphone turns purple, like right now.
It does. Can I just interject about how much I don't like running 3 or 4 different RGB controller software? I think
No,
that's
isn't it annoying?
Yeah, it stinks. I've got
It is.
Logitech on mine. I've got Corsair. I've got Gigabyte. All things that you kind of need, and it's just annoying.
The ASRock RGB controller software actually talked to the Trident ZRAM, and I could control that, so that was actually good.
Nice.
Expect so.
It worked.
Oh, right, yeah, because it'll go through the motherboard. A lot of them are compatible
It did.
with your motherboard lighting.
Oh, and let me just tell you, the jewels on the top of that made that so bright that I eventually stopped taking pictures of it, and I had to go in and separate it from being linked to all the other colors, and specifically address the LEDs on the golds and just turn them way down.
Taking pictures of RGB lighting is not fun.
Hey, yeah, by the way, that isn't fun. So these pictures I'm particularly proud of. I think they came out really nice.
It took me a long
So
time
go
to
look
learn
at
the
it.
secret. There is a secret to take pictures of RGB lighting, but
Don't
pros
tell
only.
Don't have any?
All right, it's that time of the show. Now that we've flogged this case review,
To death.
Yes, you're welcome.
let's talk about picks of the week. And as is tradition, Josh always starts one of my favorite
The
subjects.
Papas.
Yes, please
Tradition.
tell us, Josh. What is your pick this week?
I don't know if I did this one before. I probably did, but my brain is just going numb. Those Clips Pro Media 2.1 speakers are now like on sale for $115 or something on Amazon. And these are fantastic pieces of kit that they have kind of recycled, and they made it a little bit less expensive than they used to be. When these first came out in the early 2000s, they were the must-have, and their 5.1s were even better. But, if you're looking for good desktop speakers that's going to feature nice musicality and clarity and pretty good quality amps in there, it's a really good buy for $115.
They're classics. I've heard some
Yes.
scuttlebutt online about the quality being different. Like, I don't know what they changed for the.
Well,
enclosures are
they
different or the
they
driver.
did cost cut, but apparently
Okay.
it's still quite good.
That's good. The Z2300s are gone, but you can still buy the Klipsch
Yep.
2.1. Jeremy, what is your pick?
Well, we seem to have a theme going that was developed independently. Because I was sniffing around, and for the Canadian Newegg fans, there's some JBL Contour 2 wireless sport in-ear headphones for just under half price. It's JBL, so I mean, you know what they're going to sound like. It's got some water resistance, so if you like getting caught in the rain, it's not going to be horrible. And at $57, comparatively speaking to what they're normally charged, these are actually not too bad. In 15 minutes, you can get an hour worth of playback. I'd suggest charging them a little bit more than that, but for Bluetooth earphones from a respectable audio provider, that's not a damn bad price at all. Now, if you're in the States, there isn't a deal. However, there are some Sennheiser ones, which are about the same sort of a deal. So, and apart from a little bit of different in the design and not having the over the ear, again, if you're looking for some new in-ear headphones like I am, not a bad idea.
Oh, look, another one, another audio pick.
You can see what I wrote or down on yours, right?
No,
You can't see it?
no. Well, let me see. What did you add?
Yeah. You got to go look. That's what you're supposed to do.
No, audio thing goes here. No, we're not going to do that.
Yes.
I don't have anything. I can't think of
okay.
anything.
You said
I'm on the
Kratos. Go
spot.
think about that. Kratos.
Yeah.
Okay, so mine this week it's the same set of headphones that I'm wearing. Actually, these are the M50Xs from Audio-Technica. I happen to notice that Max Sales, a place that I've talked about a couple of times, I get their weekly, hey, we're selling some stuff here, and I always take a look at it. But they've got the Bluetooth version of these that was cheaper earlier today. Now they're not on sale.
I was going to say, where's the sale price? These are $179.
Well, you know what? I take it back because maybe it's because I went through because of the email. I clicked through the link on the email.
Like an
oh
email
my gosh!
only offer.
Oh, secret code you're not sharing.
Yeah, I wonder if I can. Let me try this again. Let me look at it and let me see.
An anti-pick.
Yeah, I know. I apologize.
Your pick of the
about
week
that
is
because,
signing up for OWC's newsletter. So you can
I
save
guess because
big.
it's $30 off. It's $149, so that's a reasonable amount off on this set of headphones. I'm gonna go check real quick here. Yeah, my link is still showing $149 after special offers.
Well, if you're on a Mac, you save that additional money, but I'm on a PC, so it didn't give me the discount.
I apologize. Go sign up for the mailing list, and maybe they'll send it to you. But it's $149 for email subscribers.
Wow, if I sign up for an email list, I could save up to $30 on a pair of Bluetooth headphones.
Well, it was a thing.
Yes, it was. And
We're gonna do it live. Do it live.
We did it live. We've been doing it for an hour and 47 minutes since I started recording. That's a long.
People are still watching this.
I don't know.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
I'm not.
Josh, you've made your displeasure quite clear. But hey,
My butt hurts. I sit all day long, and
get one of those balls,
hurts.
get like a medicine ball, and roll around during the
I
show.
know I used to have one, but
Not with the extra burger weight though.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that's
I
personal.
can't believe you said that.
It's getting personal. All right, well, let's stop the show as soon as possible. Tune in next week for more ridiculous nonsense brought to you by your friends at PC Perspective.